This is About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Sit back and enjoy.
Greetings, fam. This is Rom Wills, and today I'm going to talk about consumer spending in the wake of job loss. And this is kind of a follow-up to the previous video where, I talked about why the decline of retail jobs is major. See, the issue really isn't just the loss of jobs. That's one half of the equation. The real issue and the thing that keeps this economy going is consumer spending. A mentor said something very profound. He said two things keeps this economy afloat. Technology, people spending money on like new gadgets, TVs, especially smartphones. That's really keeping the economy going. That and debt. And why are we going into debt? And it's not the debt for housing or cars, but people are going into debt just to keep up their consumption habits. And part of the reason for that debt is so many people are losing jobs. So they counting more on credit cards and payday loans and stuff like that. And that speaks to the larger issue of just consumer spending in general. See, here's why the current crisis in retail affects everyone. Even if you don't work in retail, I don't care what you work in, one way or the other. If there's a critical mass of people who don't spend money, who don't put money back into the economy, it affects you even if you work for the government. Even if you're a contractor, you got a fat government contract doing whatever, it affects you. You know why? Because the government makes its money through taxes. But if there's fewer people paying taxes or even less taxes, or businesses are going out that were paying corporate taxes, at some point, that affects the government. That affects everything. That's money not being put into the economy. See, I don't care, and this is important even for all my entrepreneurial brothers and sisters. And that means of all races or whatever. That's one thing you got to think about. Yeah, I'm always saying at the end of these videos, let's go make that money. But people have to have money to spend on your product. So I'll use myself as an example. Okay, I'm not selling clothes yet, but I'm selling books. I'm selling ebooks. I'm selling coaching services. What happens when people don't have money to buy those things? Now, I could say to myself, well, I don't work in retail and I got this thing and people just spending money on it. What happens if they don't have money to spend on them? Like when I do my coaching, I charge people who've taken coaching sessions from me. They know I'm very inexpensive, very extremely inexpensive, yet some still couldn't spend it. Now, see, coaching isn't a major part of my business. Thankfully. It ain't a major part. It's still a part though. But if people can't afford my services, that affects my bottom line. And see, that's the thing. That's the crisis we need to be talking about. See, when people get these jobs, what do they do with the money? They spend it on rent. They spend it on the car. They spend it on food. Shit. They spend it on clothes. Guys spend it and try to impress some woman who ain't really feeling them. Oops, slipped a relationship reference in there. That's for the other channel, right? But, you spend it. But that's the key. If people don't have jobs, they don't have money to spend, or if they're not making as much. Because one thing, and I probably need to do a separate video on this, that's income stagnation. Basically, people's incomes ain't rising. Yeah, they might get a little bit of a raise or something, but it don't mean anything if the products they were buying also go up in price, which has been steady the last few years. You're getting that very, very subtle inflation. See, yeah, you can get a raise and people get happy. Like even with that, I'll just put this out there. Even with that $15 minimum wage thing, if that happens, I guarantee, and they'll be all happy. They're not thinking that everything else will go up in price anyway, so it don't mean anything. You know, I remember my grandmother back in the day. She said, "Look, you get a loaf of bread for like 5 cents." Shoot, now that's what, $1 something for some bread? Probably at a dollar store. Shit. And really more than that. Say, I don't really eat bread, so I don't know. But you could get milk for 5 cents. And now how much is it? About $4? Good thing I don't drink that either. But you spending a lot of money on some stuff. See, it don't matter if you getting more money, you know. So, you know, if you you know, but if you don't even have that money to spend, or you got less, you're not putting that money into the economy. I remember back in when did Bush the first come in? About 2001. I mean Bush the second, and they gave that little $500 and stuff to people. They called it stimulating the economy. I'm like, no. They were just trying to get people to spend more money. But see, if you got a situation where, okay, the retail jobs are going out, right? And then that affects every other thing, and then people don't have as much money to spend. They ain't putting it back into the economy. They not spending it. And trust me, I don't care what you do, it's going to affect you at some point. I don't care what it is. Unless you getting one of these, unless you getting like supplemental social security, or what they call SSI, or some type of welfare payment or something, your shit gonna be affected. You know, your business is gonna be affected. See, that's the thing, and that's the thing in business. And you know, at the end of this video, I'm gonna say, let's go make that money, but you gotta keep in mind, people gotta be there to buy it. You know, or if you're in an area where people holding on to that money tight, you know, because of uncertainty, or you know, they worried about losing a job or something, because that's where automation come in. Every time these, see, you don't have to pay a machine. You just have to maintain it. The only people making out like that really are the owners and whoever maintains those machines, and whoever got to monitor a machine at business. But then you laid off a whole bunch of other people. If they don't have money, they can't spend it, because what they're going to do, it's going to get to the point where the only spending will be done on essential items. See, one thing about this economy, you got a lot of bullshit products out there. Tchotchke gifts, as some people I know in retail would say. It's like that stuff, it's like the dumb stuff you see out in different stores during Christmas. It's like useless. Like this one thing they got out now, some type of spinner thing. I'm like, well, what's the point of that gift? But I guarantee if people can't spend money, or people don't have the money, all of a sudden people selling that will find out the hard way they don't need it. See, one thing, people try to have all this scientific stuff going on, right? And they try to have all these mathematical formulas and stuff. But it's basically, economics come down to supply and demand. But if people don't have money, they don't have money to spend, they can't consume with what they don't have. That's the key. And that's going to be major. People got to think about consumers, what they're going to spend. I mean, the people who are advocating a basic income, or at least looking into it, they got a point. You know, it's something, and it's something that we probably need to have a big conversation on, is basic income. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm just now looking into it now, because I'm thinking, all right, you got all these people out here. If you got a critical mass of people who don't have jobs, who don't have enough money to spend, this economy comes down to a grind. And like I said, it affects everyone. Because if people ain't buying stuff or can't pay the amount of taxes, even if you work for the government, they'll start figuring out ways to limit it. Now, even if you think you got a steady job or something, Look, let me tell y'all something about the government real quick. This is a little bit of a tangent. Many of the services you think are being performed by a government employee are being done by a contractor. See, they have a hell of a time firing a government employee, especially a federal government employee, but they can fire a contractor anytime. Don't when you call any federal government agency, you pick up that phone or you talking with somebody, and most likely you talking with a contractor. And at least until they decide to automate that. And they probably have, for all I know. Some agencies probably already going there to be like press 1 or press 2 or press 3 or whatever. But consumer spending, that's the major thing. That's the major thing. And like I said, some people might feel like, hey, I don't work in retail. It don't matter. Well, it's going to affect you. And for my entrepreneurial people, like I said, you got to think about it. That's something I'm thinking about. Because I'm like, shit. What if I can't, what if there ain't enough? Now, I already figured out there's a certain amount of people I need, and I'm 6 figures. It ain't a lot. It ain't 1 million or something. Because, and I'll put this out there. All I need is a couple hundred people a month buy products from me. I'm 6 figures. And even if, no matter what product it is. Well, maybe a little bit more. I say maybe 1,000. So I just need 1,000 people in the world with money. All right. But here's the problem. That still affects me. That still affects me. Consumer spending, because where they getting their money from? Let's say, we all in it together. So we need to be paying. Everybody needs to be paying attention to this stuff. Now, this ain't some naysaying saying don't go out there and create something. Because I'm gonna be honest. Well, I'm gonna save that for another video. I'm gonna save that for another video. All right, that's coming up soon. So anyway, right? Heed what I'm saying. But regardless, let's go make that money.